Hi, Jenny. Bill Bradford, Seattle Neighborhood Coalition. As you know, we're asking all the candidates the same questions. Successful urban planning helps target where jobs and housing development occurs while ensuring necessary transportation infrastructure and public amenities are there to support these. In the past, we called this the urban village strategy. Seattle has seen explosive job growth, mostly the tech sector, fueled by tax and other incentives provided by the city. Rather than managing growth, we are encouraging unfettered demand on housing and infrastructure and have arguably failed at implementing successful housing and transportation policies because we are clearly delivering too little, too late to support this job growth. The planning director, Sam Asefa, has called Mayor Murray the planner-in-chief, and that planning has largely been based on a backroom deal to upzone large swaths of the city called the Grand Bargain, and to support transit infrastructure which delivers mass transit to limited parts of the city decades out. What would you do different as planner-in-chief to address the growing pains? Now, you've addressed a lot of these already, so let me kind of narrow down on what you said.
Perfect.
Okay? So you talked about how you support HALA and the MHA, but you also said that you don't think one-size-fits-all zoning. The Grand Bargain is a one-size-fits-all up-zone everywhere within the urban villages. How do you respond to that they seem inconsistent in your answer?
The one-size-fits-all was, I intended to direct that to as we move to what kind of density is there in the multifamily neighborhoods. I think that will vary depending on the neighborhood, where in the neighborhood it is. There may be some places where you have accessory dwelling units. There may be some where there's duplexes and triplexes. There may be a border of a multifamily that's zoned multifamily, but it's already had duplexes and triplexes. So the one-size-fits-all means that we have to, I think every neighborhood's going to have more density. There's just no way around it.
So Madison Park and
Broadmoor
and all that, you're suggesting they're going to have up zones as well?
Now, every neighborhood needs more density. Now, some of the neighborhoods, like Broadmoor, they have covenants and restrictions that are separate from the city can't control, as I understand it.
But at the same time, other people critique the covenants and restrictions. For example, they created the central area as redlining and so on, and that's why we need HALA.
But those were city covenants and restrictions.
They were not. No, that's totally untrue.
Banks.
The banks created them, but they were originally put in place by government entities who were willing to.
No.
All right. If you take before the banks, I lived in red line districts, so I don't want to fight about you. We can talk about the history, but yes, I think that we have to, if your question is, do we need more density? I think it's unavoidable.
Cities grow and change, so everyone agrees that. The question is we have a plan, HALA MHA, which was created by a Grand Bargain with developers, a subset actually, the nonprofit housing industry largely, and the people who write the bonding capacity and so on for that. We're going to take, it basically targets $500 million in money into that industry. So no wonder that Grand Bargain was created. They profit from this. Okay, the amount of housing that comes out of that, the 6,000 units, is a fraction, and a small fraction of the overall housing that comes out of the other parts of HALA, the housing levy, and so on. So we have agreed to upzone large swaths of the city. So here, for example, in the central area, where the remaining pockets of the black community are now being targeted for rezoning. Okay, how does that help protect these communities that are being displaced?
3 parts to it. If you freeze it in time, those communities will be forced out by costs. Because right now, let me finish, please. Let me finish. It's fairness. If you leave everything as it is right now, I think there's no one in this room that can dispute that there are more people than there are affordable houses.
Nobody has said leave everything the same.
Correct, but so we take it in phases. So then the question is, we know what we have now isn't working. So what's the solution, and how quickly do we need it? I think it's not a perfect solution, but what I do know is the number of units that will be brought in communities by MHA, I believe, is essential to not just absorbing the need we have now, but it won't meet the need later. And if we just start all over, we will not have any new, let me finish please, affordable housing for long enough that I can guarantee you the people that now are living in small homes, the tech people bringing in who have higher salaries, they will be buying them up just like they do now. We have an obligation, in my view, an obligation to create more affordable housing, and we have to do it as soon as possible. No one's going to love every deal, but I haven't yet seen anyone put forward a better deal that's really going to bring thousands of units on as soon as these can be.
Do you know
We
how
need
many,
100,000 families.
do you know how many units of housing have been permitted, vested, without MHA that are in the pipeline already? Do you have a feel for what that is?
I don't know the exact number, I can get it, but I can tell you it's not enough. Because,
No, these are this is housing that the developers have vested in
Right,
without
I know that.
MHA. There's tens of thousands of units that are in the pipeline already that will be built before MHA, before permits with MHA come in.
the problem with that though, is those developers are buying and selling at market rates. The average minimum wage worker would have to work 85 hours a week just to afford a one-bedroom. They have no affordable housing required in them, so that's not going to fix our affordable housing.
Correct.
So that's why we got to give them more to get the affordable housing. It's, if you have a better way to get thousands of units in just going the status quo, I'd love to talk to you. I'll spend as much
Actually, there's
time to
been-
you.
I would urge you to read the community housing report that Frank
5
Chops
seconds.
group put together. There are a lot of options other than upzoning to provide
Yeah.
affordable housing.
I think in addition to, but I'll sit down and talk to you anytime you'd like.